Anti-trafficking activists say a tiny town in Mexico is the epicenter of a vast criminal syndicate that exploits women and girls.
Hundreds of victims in the United States and other countries say trafficking rings based in the town, Tenancingo, have forced them into prostitution. CNN's Rafael Romo traveled to the town to interview a convicted human trafficker who is now telling the secrets of the operation.
Across the United States, law enforcement officials are fighting an international crime said to be worth $150 billion in illegal profits.
It's a high-volume, low-cost business. We're told the highest they charge is $35 for that 15 minutes of time. And oftentimes the trafficker will count out the condoms that he gives the girl at night and then count when she comes back how many are left. And they do expect them to see 20 and 30 men a night.
Susan Kopich is the U.S. State Department's new ambassador to combat human trafficking. A former federal prosecutor, Kopich has seen a troubling trend. Many of the victims and the traffickers who abuse them have a tie to a single place. A small village in central Mexico that has become known as the sex trafficking capital of the world.
Well, we've been told by the traffickers themselves and by the young girls that this town raises pimps, that's what they've done for generations.
But who are these cold-hearted criminals? In 2011, Kopich helped convict Amador Cortez Mesa. 4 of his victims were juveniles. The youngest was 14.
And he took a broomstick and he beat her. And he beat her so much that the broomstick broke. And then after that, when the broomstick broke, he went and got one of those thicker rods out of a closet and started beating her with that.
We traveled to the village of Tenancingo in the Tlaxcala region of Mexico. Locals tell us many organized crime families call Tenancingo and several other towns around it home. Their main business widely known to be the selling of girls and young women in the sex market. In the town center, an older woman selling fruit whispered a dire warning.
Lo que pasa es que luego se juntan los muchachos. O sea, no dejan que graben. O sea, le digo por su seguridad.
¿Qué nos harían?
¿Qué le puedo decir mejor? Ahí usted sabe.
Pero sí cree que estamos en peligro.
Pues sí.
Ahí es la central.
Tenancingo, Tlaxcala, is the hub. This is where everything happens.
Mario Hidalgo Garfias was once a human trafficker.
Llegué a violar a alguna de las chicas que trabajaban para mí.
I got to the point of raping some of the girls that used to work for me. I used to beat them up, and not just with my fists. I used baseball bats to beat them up so they would work for me.
Golpeando a muchachas para obligarlas a trabajar.
He spent more than a decade in a Mexican prison for his crimes.
A alguna de ellas le quité.
I took their children away, so they were forced to work for me. I could tell you 10,000 more things like that.
Mario says he would pimp several girls at the same time. Rehabbed, he says he agreed to talk to CNN despite the danger because he wants to see an end to the practice of exploiting women and children by kidnapping, drugging, and forcing them to have sex with dozens of men each day.
There's been reports over the last few years that there are girls as young as 9 years old that are trafficked in and around Tenancingo.
There are things beyond your imagination, much more than what you can fathom. People only get to see about 3% of reality.
Making it absolutely critical, these human trafficking operations are broken up before they reach the next child's front door. Rafael Romo, CNN, Tlaxcala State, Mexico.
Our investigation into trafficking in Tenancingo, Mexico continues on Friday. And then you'll hear Rafael speak with the victim who was trapped in the town and forced to witness one of its biggest and most troubling social events of the year.
Extraordinary reporting by the team there. You're watching CNN Today. We'll be right back.
We've recently discovered that there are about 35 million people in slavery around the world today. Now, slavery occurs almost any time that someone's made vulnerable and doesn't have the protection of the rule of law. If you want to understand the presence of slavery, you have to understand the presence of corruption in most countries.
We need leaders we can actually believe. Whether they're corporate, governmental, military, have an enormous responsibility. We're talking about people developing a higher level of consciousness than we've had up to now, enabling humanity to actually evolve because we have to.
When we all come together as leaders and people, elders and young, we can make the world the one we want, because no one is free as long as others are not. Let all of us come together to make the 21st century the century of humanity.